So my girlfriend sent me a story time to my inbox. We're going to call these two Sherry and Rico. She says, I read your cautionary tale, the story time about the woman who was with someone for 16 years, had children with him, and he still refused to get married. She says, I too was with someone for a long time, 15 years, without ever getting married. We dated for 2 years before getting an apartment together. For the first 3 or so years of being with this guy, let's call him Rico, I expected to eventually be married to him and have a family. We talked about marriage from time to time, but no action ever came of it. After 5 years of being with him, I decided I wanted to go back to school. He claimed to be all for it, so I went to college full time while he paid all of the bills. Well, my story is why we all need to remember all BurbNBougie's discussions about men acting up when a woman is in a vulnerable position. When I went back to college, I had to basically start over from scratch. Therefore, school would be a long 4 years because I finished. Towards the end of my sophomore year, I discovered that Rico was cheating. I found out because one of his sisters told me. Of course, he denied it. He would start acting right, but within a few months, he'd go back to his old ways. My friends and family advised me to leave, but I felt trapped. I wasn't working and I still had 2 years left of school. I decided that I needed to at least finish school, get a job, and get myself together to leave. Long story short, I did graduate college and I found a job, but it didn't pay well enough for me to live on my own. Staying with friends wasn't an option, as most of my friends were married with children, and staying with my parents was absolutely out of the question. So unfortunately, I spent quite some time with Rico, feeling like I had to show that I was the better woman and feeling trapped. At some point, I decided I would return to school and further my education. By this time, I realized that I had to be honest with myself about what I really wanted. I thought I wanted marriage and a family with Rico. What I wanted was a career and a great life for myself. I started making plans toward that goal. I focused on school, and even though I didn't make enough money, I saved as much as I could. I stopped competing for Rico and hardly paid him any attention when he was home. By this time, we weren't even sleeping in the same bedroom. And for a long, long time, he didn't even notice that I no longer cared. I completed my advanced education, got a much better job, and started indulging in the hobbies that I loved before getting with Rico. I spent much less time at home, and Rico finally started to notice. He started making efforts to patch things up between us, but I couldn't be bothered. Once I saw that I had enough money in savings and enough money to move out on my own, I left Rico. Friends and family, of course, said that I had wasted 15 years with Rico since I never married him. But it occurred to me that if I really wanted to be married, the energy that I expended in educating myself and furthering my career would have also been used to date strategically to find a compatible mate. I had realized that one of the main reasons why I brought up marriage and a future with Rico so often in the first few years of our relationship was because I felt that that's what I was supposed to want. Although things worked out for me in the long run, I would never advise any woman to stay with a man who won't get married if marriage is what she wants. While dating, make sure that men know what you are looking for. We know that men will put on a facade and act like they want the same things as women do. That's why it's important to maintain your own income, even if you decide to live with a man or even decide to get married. Always have the ability to leave when you are tired of the tolerable unhappiness. Then she comes back. She was like, oh my God, I remember when you used to do the nothing reasons why women would leave. She was telling me at this point what happened when she moved out. She was like, she said she bought the apartment. She had saved up enough for the apartment and she had just moved out. And she said, but anyway, girl, the landlord contacted me to tell me that my ex was crying. crying, big ass 6'2", 250 pound man crying to the landlord, asking the landlord why did Sherry leave? She said that the landlord was a preacher, or he was brought up as a preacher. She says this was this older white guy, and he says it's because you didn't honor her with marriage. You know that's why she's moving up in her career, because she's doing the stuff that you were supposed to do. She said she couldn't believe that she forgot that part, but she wanted to add that soon as she left, he was like blindsided, and he just had no clue why she would just up and leave like that. I am so thankful and grateful that so many people share their stories with me. Some things that I want to pull out where we can learn from this is she knew what she wanted. She wanted marriage, but she saw that she couldn't get that from him. So, what she did, it clicked in her brain. She needed to use this situation as a time to get herself together. She was stuck. Like she said, she couldn't just move in with friends. She wasn't going back to her parents' house, and she couldn't live on her own. So she moved out of the bedroom, and she was essentially living as a roommate with this man. So she was strategic. She used that time and energy instead of focusing on him and competing with other women. She used that energy and poured it into herself. Like she said, some people think that she lost 15 years of her life. But if she really, really wanted to be married, she could have been married. She wasn't focused on being married. She was focused on her career, moving up in the ranks, saving money, getting herself together. And that is the strategery that we have to use as women. It's not always going to be a straight line path from breaking up with somebody to just going off on your own and you have enough money. No, sometimes you have to think about how much money you saved up, where you're going to move, all of that. And for this woman, it took 15 years. But it just goes to show you that, like, let's imagine that she didn't go back to school. Let's imagine that instead she was burdened with him with a bunch of kids. They didn't have kids together. So because she didn't have kids, that meant that she had a little bit more freedom to move around. She could spend time going to school, getting her job, and all of that. So we have to keep in mind that, yes, you know, she did spend all of this time with this man, but they were essentially living separate lives. She didn't allow herself to get pregnant by this man, and she didn't really lose out on too much. She was just basically a roommate to this man. If you guys have any story times that you want to share with me, definitely jump in my inbox. I love to hear from you. So let me know what you think of this story of Sherry and Rico. Obviously, not their real names. Let me know. Jump in the comments if you made it this far. Go ahead and hit the like button. I'm sorry, the follow button.